come take a walk in the winter wonderland today, where the sparrows are chirping like never before, and the dark-eyed juncos are most confident. Oh yes, very, very confident. And that's what's funny about those dark-eyed juncos. A common city bird is my understanding. They come around here for only a few months, and while they're here, they love the snow. So I put out a lot of treats for them today as we make our way through the winter wonderland. What a beautiful morning this is. Looks like we're going to get more precipitation today, but it is warm. So it likely will not be snow. Likely not. Just fix everything in place here. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to the wood. Into the wood we go. On this beautiful 16th of December. Tomorrow being the first day of Saturnalia. And perhaps it's a good time to talk about Saturnalia because it's an ancient Roman holiday that happens to coincide with, or happens to coincide with the dates of celebration that we have here in the United States. A sort of combination between Hanukkah, which is a Jewish holiday, and Christmas, a Christian holiday. So we'll talk about it while I breathe long and deep. Takes a little extra effort when you walk in snow, whether you're wearing, oh, these are some tracks. Whether you're wearing snow boots, takes a little extra effort. We might notice some unique tracks on our walk this morning. I imagine the walk being eventful, magical, full of wonder. So Saturnalia stems from the idea that Saturn, also known as Kronos, or the god of time, was also a god of harvest. Rabbit footprints. And while you can tell these are rabbit footprints, little hoppers, little hops. Kronos, the god of time, was believed to be associated with the planet Saturn. And Saturn, the god of time, harvest, and agriculture, was also believed to be the custodian of humanity, whatever version it was, during the Golden Age. And I've heard a number of speculative stories about the Golden Age, one being anything we wished to manifest. And I mean anything that would come from the earth was an instantaneous process. instantaneous, in which you would make a wish and see the result, much like Star Trek's computer from the next generation would make it so. And on we go. So imagine a world, a golden age of humanity, in which everything that you desired was instantaneously manifest, including the creation of life. I mean, obviously, if you're receiving a harvest, that is a creation of life. Same eukaryotic family as us, coming about instantaneously. Imagine if you could look into the eyes of another and instantaneously create life through that love. Talk about a golden age indeed, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be? I think so. So it once was speculated that we could create life through a mere glance itself, a meeting of the eye. Not the physical eyes that we know, but the third eye. At one point, may have been actually visible, and the light coming from that being the light of God, having enough power to instantaneously manifest what we desire, and bring about life. So think about what kind of world that would be. Would there be scarcity? Would there be inequality? Would there be strife, resentment, jealousy? No, if you saw something you liked and the feeling was there, it was made manifest. It's quite a beautiful life, isn't it? What else works like that nowadays? Many would argue not many things, very few. Very few things. That's how Hemingway would say it, trying to avoid the knots. And say very few instead. These are the tracks of a coyote. So if you wanted to find its den, you find the direction, which is this direction, in which the paws are imprinting. So it's on the hunt, or it's heading to its den, right in there. Picking up scents, what have you. Let's walk around. Let's have a look. So imagine, in a world where you could manifest anything, would there be heartache and strife? Would there be scarcity and difficulty? Would there be conditions of lack? And the answer is decisively no. Decisively. So I know the scenario that I painted for you is a strange one. However, we've come to the conclusion that this perception of reality is nothing more than electric signals running through the brain, being rendered in what appears to be a three-dimensional space through the combined efforts of our eyes, which give us depth perception. And so, while this is an incredible conscious experience being carried out before us, how cool would it be if we only needed one eye instead of the two, instead of this separation, instead of this duality? we only needed one eye, and that this eye was responsible for all manifestation. And at some point, one way or another, it gets covered up, it gets encapsulated, it gets incarcerated by this body. This body that collects pain and presents illusion. What a mysterious story this has become already, hasn't it? And over the years, we start to lose track of what we once had. This immense power. And the thoughts of manifestation started to gain distance between what we perceived as reality, until a very part of our own brains decided to separate out and make its way as the eyes that we know. Still a part of the brain, as I said already the other day. However, distinctly connected to the external world that we perceive. However it is perceived, however it is rendered, our eyes have direct contact with it. And that's unique. This is a deer trap. Not mine, but this one. And on we go. So, we fall out of manifestation power. The golden age ends. We develop these sensory experiences, and mainly through the eyes, we perceive an illusion, a three-dimensional space that shows duality and separation between ourselves and the things that we desire. How wild is that? And it seems when the things come about that we desire, we don't have much control over that. But at the same time, those things serve as our salvation. In the cold, warmth is your salvation. In the desert, water is your salvation. In the ocean, land is your salvation. In bouts of loneliness, company is your salvation. In need of friendship, companionship is your salvation. In pangs of hunger, food is your salvation. But always we see ourselves at a distance to these things that we desire, do we not? Most of the time it seems the opposite is what is presenting itself as real. What a world that is. Thought the ancient Romans, knowing at one point we were all equal, that we all had this indelible connection to God, however fleeting in the moments they lived throughout the year, they decided at first it would be a day. One day dedicated to the guardian of the golden age, Saturn. And that this day would be a day of equality. A day where farmers especially would be recognized for their value. Did you know? Back in the day, to be a farmer was to be the highest form of recognized career choice. Farming, agriculture is considered the most honorable of professions. And look at how far we have come in distancing ourselves from that truth today. I see what's happening in Britain with the farmers. Taxation. I see what's happening with the major seed producers and their genetically modified seed, overtaking good, rich farmland. I see what's happening in Ukraine, which is responsible for supplying 15% of Russia's total wheat production. And I start to wonder, if we have forgotten so easily the importance of the land. This is a war for rich land that we have paid ourselves into without consent. And we are about to pull out so that the grain can flow again to its country of origin without our interference. However you decide what is the country of origin, it's not one that's being bombarded by all sorts of destructive explosions. And that's enough politics for now. There was a time when a single day was reserved for these beautiful farmers in recognition and celebration of them, where everyone was considered equal. And it usually fell on a date in December, happened to be December 25th. Interesting. So, the original date, December 25th, would be in recognition of Saturn and the farmers in the Golden Age. And it was a grand celebration, I can tell you. People were celebrating in the streets, joking with one another, jovial and jolly as it were, giving gifts and presents, adorning the pillars made of marble with pine and wreaths. People were drinking and eating and celebrating, and not a single slave was a slave on that day, back in ancient Roman times. And they loved this holiday so much, this holly day, this holistic day, this holiest of days, that they decided to extend Saturnalia for an entire week. And they called it Saturnalia before they extended it out for an entire week, which typically ran from December 17th, which would be tomorrow, until Christmas Eve. Just midnight on the 23rd, turning over to Christmas Eve on the 24th. That would be the end of the festivities. And everything would return back to its distorted reality of separation and hierarchy, slavery, and fiefdom, senators and proletariats, oracles and religious baptizers, all of the common forms of separation, the minting of gold and all that would return, so as to distinctly create a separation. But for that week, it was a wild, crazy time where you could have slaves being served meals by the senators. You could have oracles giving a massage to a slave. You could have children becoming the law and deciding when someone had broken the law what type of punishment they would receive. And this was all done for a reason. Of course, it was to be merry and to enjoy this time. The harvest and the plenty shared amongst everyone equally. Caroling and waking up the senators in the middle of the night. Slaves outside that you can't punish. And they know it. And they're 3 sheets to the wind, as it were, on wine and beer. Jolly and merry as can be. Senators frustrated, all the same laughing. Everyone who once was Ebenezer Scrooge got converted in the week of Saturnalia, I can tell you. For it was impossible to ignore the cheer of pure equality celebrated. But not just equality in hierarchy and stature and rank. but equality in the way that it was remembered during the original Golden Age. All things manifest by God instantaneously, and that right belonging to every human on earth. No exception. For everyone was a king and a queen in those days. Or if you wanted a kingdom, all you did was think of it, and it was made so. The world that we lived in back then, my friends, the Golden Age was the age of the imagination. And before we had eyes, imagine if you didn't have these eyes to see all these distractions, all these limitations, all these labels and judgments, yourself and others. If you didn't have these eyes, what eye would you be left with? The eye of the imagination. And through this eye of the imagination and its light, anything becomes possible and is rendered instantaneously for your enjoyment. That's what you would be left with. What a gift that would be. So those celebrating Saturnalia return to this concept, this understanding, that we are all equal, not because it's some law, it's man-made, no, because it's a God-made law, that every human being is gifted the power of the imagination. And at least for this week, that imagination would show immediate results in the form of manifestation, equality, celebration, and the jolly, bliss-fulfilled days of harvest. All thanks to Saturn. And it was revered as a beautiful holiday. And in some instances, not so much. For there were animal sacrifices. Yes. This was not uncommon back in the day. Even there was speculation that there was even a human sacrifice. Whoever played king for the week was sacrificed at the end. Pretty morbid. I know. But if you saw what the Mayans did and the Aztecs on a field at Chichen Itza or in Coba, you would compare the two and say, okay, one seems a bit more drastic than the other. For if you scored a goal in one of those old games at Chichen Itza, you were decidedly beheaded. For your head became the sun, and the significance of Quetzalcoatl in that moment. What a glorious moment that would be, and then fade out. So I'm not laughing at that, not laughing at the morbidity of certain elements of these celebrations. Rather, at least with Saturnalia, I'm trying to point out that whoever believed themselves to be king, the ruler of all, during a week where everyone is considered equal, is deserving of sacrifice. And you have to volunteer for that. You have to volunteer for the king's position. So, maybe a slave who's down and out, had too much, and for one life, decided this is for their proper way out. They have a week in rule in which they can believe they're greater than the rest of all humans on this planet. At least in Rome, ancient Rome. And then at the end, promptly it's decided, we can't have you around if you believe that, when it's not true. That would be the rationale that I would give. And so, what lesson do we gather from this? The lesson is, the moment that you see yourself as superior to another, as human. Because let me tell you, there might be humans out there who are not really humans. You're either not human if you think of yourself as better, or you're not human if you are disguising yourself as human, when in fact you are something totally different, beast-like, demonic. And the juncos. Lots of rabbit prints and coyote prints. But if you saw yourself as superior, or if you do, over others because of the amount of likes, comments, subscribes, money in your bank, muscles on your body formed and bulging, svelteness of your waist, size of your bust or your loins, whatever it is that gives you this perception of dominance over the rest of the world, makes you decidedly unconscious as human, or you're not human to begin with. Either way, you don't get to take part in the golden age. You can take part in the festivities of Saturnalia, announcing yourself as the ruler for a week, understanding that your rule is short-lived and shall not last. Says the chickadees and the chirping, dark-eyed juncos and the pileated woodpeckers and all the rest. There is no escaping ignorance, for we are all born of one cell. No one is an exception. And we are all born on one planet. Now, some may argue that won't be an exception, or that will be an exception, right? The moment we land on Mars, colonize. It'll still be one solar system, and once we go outside the solar system, it will still be one galaxy, and after we get outside that galaxy, it'll still be one universe. It'll still be one mind, one imagination, one nation of images created that leads to the manifestation in this world. All you see before you is delayed manifestation. That's all this is. And the manifestation is on a delay of time and space, limitations from time and space. So for those who are truly locked in with their imagination, the veil is lifted. And this all turns into a direct reflection of your reality in your mind. For it aligns with the mind of God, and it is good. The moment that you start thinking about things as distorted in a scarcity way, scar city, scare city, either one will suffice. You get scarred and scared in scarcity. That's not real. Lest you forget, you have an eye in your head made of cones and rods, just like your physical eyes. Non-hemispherical pineal gland that excretes a hormone that presents you with such manifestation as the imagination, the nation of images in your mind. But please make no mistake. Please note that your pineal gland with cones and rods is light sensitive. For I believe in truth it used to be an eye, but it wasn't the eye that we think about. See how these eyes are set like a vesica Pisces shape, right? Like footballs. This eye, turn it so that it's vertical instead of horizontal. That's the eye. And that is how you dimensionally shift at night, is it not? When you go to sleep, you lie down, It's a dimensional shift. It's a positional shift where the eye aligns with your dream state. So you can see everything, level as can be. So you have two horizontal eyes, one vertical eye. Runs right down the middle. Non-hemispherical. The only part of the brain that is non-hemispherical is the pineal gland. Please say duly noted. There is no duality in the pineal gland. What it secretes, dimethyltryptamine, is the spirit molecule that connects you with God, Christ consciousness, the consciousness of instantaneous manifestation. Through what? Through the place that we deny ourselves every day and neglect beyond compare, the imagination. The imagination is your limitless, timeless, birthless, deathless, changeless space until you decide what it is to become. And it will start its process of delivering you your wish fulfillment, either in this space or within. Let's say you want a beautiful mansion. But you're looking around and you don't see your beautiful mansion. Let's say you want an estate and you're looking around and it doesn't quite look like what you want. Or maybe perhaps it doesn't look at all like what you want. Is that the only option you have? I pray that you see bigger than that. That you see beyond that. Try closing your eyes. See if you can imagine where your hands are. And then open your eyes and see your hands. One is using the imagination, your third eye, and the other is using your physical eyes. All the same, you're perceiving your hand. One has to be done through instinct and practice because it is calcified and pretty much blinded until you decalcify and exercise that instrument, which is your third eye. How interesting, when the sun goes down, that third eye starts to secrete melatonin, responsible for carrying out your circadian sleep cycles. It's a lot to take in, I know. The good part is, with your imagination, there is no limit as to what you can think, how many times you can reproduce it, how large a reproduction it is, how instantaneous a reproduction it is. It's just there. There's no hesitation in processing. However, in this world, it's like working with an outdated console system that's still rendering and generating everything. However, its priority is placed in giving you frame rate instead of giving you what you're immediately asking for. Because let's say this construct were to stop with its frame rate, become a hall of mirrors, and manifest for you whatever it is you're desiring. How many of you would accept that as truth? How many of you would believe then in this construct? And that's the thing. Priority is being placed in your belief that this construct is the end-all, be-all of your experience. However, you can look at your hand right now, close your eyes and see your hand, and open your eyes and see your hand again. In all three of those instances, beginning, middle, and end, we're seeing the hand. And it happens so naturally, eyes closed or not, once the suggestion is made. Remember that we would never question it. And we would never question the imagination as something that is profound, enlightening, and powerful. Yet it's our most powerful faculty, and in fact, it's our truth. The illusion is the formation of these eyes. That's the illusion. Our senses. The separation that we feel between the things that we desire and what we see now is the illusion. Remember the golden age, the example. Everything instantaneously there. Why? Because we all believed that the imagination was the primary source of all creation. It was our Christ self carrying out actions on the fly. And all there was God's manifold expression. There was no need for time. No need for time when you have everything you desire instantaneously delivered. Don't you see it now? At some point, we must have been misled, or we must have gotten lost. Whatever signal was being sent out that gave us the truth received some form of interference, and we started to stray. Now, I know that this is a story. However, it's important for you to just see that you have an imagination. That's all I'm trying to give you. Give you what you already have, what you've always had, what you've always been, what you always are, your imagination. And Neville Goddard talks about this in a great length. How imagination is Christ. And what is Christ? A man from Nazareth? Perhaps. And after his crucifixion, what was he? Was he dead for 3 days? And then was he resurrected? And when he was resurrected, was he still a man? Or was he not begotten in that he was born, but not born of man, but rather one in being with the Father? Would you deny that? So my question is, what did Jesus of Nazareth become upon his resurrection? Was he man again? Who birthed him? Who conceived him? Who grew out his flesh to 33 years? Crucified it so that he died, and then birthed it again somehow. It doesn't make sense, you see. The moment you get to that part of the story, the only thing that makes sense is that he was resurrected by a power that was beyond man, not begotten by man, so that he could achieve oneness with the Father of creation. Father Time, perhaps you could say, by eliminating Father Time entirely. No longer a need for time and space when you're not begotten by man. This isn't blasphemy. This is to give you perspective. Jesus of Nazareth was once a man. He was crucified. He died. He gave up all his worldly possessions. He even gave up his body. Announced that it was accomplished. He gave up his blood and announced it is done. And upon that declaration, he knew that there was no death and that it would take some time. However, upon that turn, he would be begotten, but not by man. He would be alive, but one in being. Not divided, not separate. One with the Father of creation. Which is consciousness. Christ consciousness. When we refer to Christ consciousness, we are referring to an idea in the mind of God that is the imagination, that has no limits, no restrictions, no birth and no death. Just a constant, manifold expression of love. That is what it is to be Christian. Truly Christian. And this is very threatening for the large majority of those who claim themselves to be Christians and say, unless you give yourself to this entity outside of you, who you cannot see until he arrives, then you are condemned to a painful purgatory that you will not be able to escape unless you give all that you have to that which is outside of you. And there could be no greater form of blasphemy of the first of the 10 commandments by taking the Lord's name in vain in such a way as saying, God is outside of me. It is exactly what the devil wants you to say and believe, and it is what is indoctrinated in everyone in church. And I would argue there is not a single religion out there that doesn't take this into consideration and use it for the sake of controlling massive amounts of people. And it is evil. And I take great chances in saying that. But if you give yourself to what is outside of you, you have decidedly given your life to illusion. When that which is giving you your life is within you, supplicating through synchronicities that you see the light, that you somehow come to. The imagination is your truth. It is Christ. And when you bathe in those waters of the imagination like a child, and you see yourself as innocent as ever, then you come into the warm embrace of this infinite intelligence who knows the means and the way, and it's you. That's the greatest mystery of all. It is you. I say this to anyone who has any sort of control over communities, parishes, temples, mosques, you name it. I say it to anyone that this source is within you and is not only an intimate part of you, but it is the giver and gift of you. Then I am condemned to death or worse. So be it. I do not have fear of death, for I am in the warm embrace of the Lord through the sacred imagination. I have no fear. And I spoke about this at great length yesterday. Why? And in summary, I will explain to you that it has to do with God's manifold expression outside of time. Unify yourself with that source that is outside of space and time by being present and still, and announce your alignment with that source to the woods, this sacred space, and you will find the Lord has your back no matter what comes your way, no matter what threat. For the threat is man-made, and it is a result of your own fears and life experiences, bringing you to this point of revelation. So fear not the threats of the world, whether they jump upon you and surprise you. Just release and surrender all that you are, not to those people, not to anyone, but surrender it to your breath. And if they try to take your breath away, surrender it to the absence of the breath. But surrender within. Never surrender to your external circumstances. Never give your power to that which is outside of you. For if you do, it will destroy you. It'll likely do it slowly, mockingly, but it will decisively destroy you. And I do not say this for devotion. Please don't be a devotee of me. For my body, this vessel, is a broken failure of a man. Do not follow me and do not be devoted to this body. For you'll be making the same mistake you've been making before. Instead, become a devotee of the God within you, I supplicate and I pray. That way we can be finally seen as equals and return to the golden age that has been promised to us all along. Let us pray. Someone tells you you have to do a ritual. Someone tells you you have to do your penance. Someone tells you you have to feel regret. Someone tells you you have to pay for your words. You know this is a test coming from your own self and nothing else. So just be at ease in the divine expectancy of the good, knowing that you, not begotten by man, one in being with the Father, know the means and the way now. You become the Son of the Father and intimately linked to Him in creation. And of course, there is the womb of creation, the universal subconscious mind, the unified field, superposition, however you want to label it. Scientist or religious fanatic alike will say there is a superior source that is responsible as the womb of creation from which all things are possible and expressed. That is the shoreless sea of Mary, the Mar. And from that all things are made. The Father deciding what seed will go into that endless sea. And the Son is constantly giving wishes to the Father, who relays them in purity to the Mar. Pileated, I think it's called pileated or pileated woodpecker. Just flew gracefully and beautifully. And the northern flickers have been around today. There was a yellow shafted one with black spots and a yellow underside. Most majestic and beautiful, I'll say. Boy, I see a lot of rabbit tracks, and I can tell they were on the run from the coyotes. So be it. To each their own. But we as human, we serve as the guardians and custodians of this space. As much as it's illusion, we have one goal, and it's to return to the one eye. The imagination as our reality over what we see. And we display proof of this all the time in our invention. Anytime something is made, you know that it is made through the imagination. It has to have been a thought before it was made. That thought is a thought in the mind of God. It is good for anything that is made that serves humanity. It must come from the imagination first. It's unavoidable. It's a higher faculty of existence, imagination. It's a fourth dimensional faculty, for it has dominion over the three-dimensional space, including space and time. So just know that. Ooh, these are big footprints. Paw prints. That could be the lynx. They love rabbits. That looks like a lynx paw print. Incredible. Either that or a bobcat. It appears. I could be wrong. This was a skirmish, rabbit footprints, and yeah, this was a meal right here. That was a captured meal, for sure. Else, isn't it? So what's beautiful is that we as human can instantaneously chime in with the imagination. You can close your eyes and you can go there without any restriction, and no one can take it from you. No one can steal the imagination from you. They can say it's not worth it. They can say you have a vivid imagination, a vibrant imagination. They can't take it from you. They can't say to you, you no longer have an imagination. That would be foolish to say. For there is no invention without the imagination. There's nothing made without first being made as a thought in the mind of God. The Father receives that thought and formulates a seed and delivers it to the endless sea of creation. And you as the Son serve as the wish fulfillment maker, the wish maker. That's what you are. So you make wishes all the time. Perhaps unbeknownst to you, I'm making wishes right now too. And the wishes that I make, they have to do with what I'm entertaining through the imagination. But I'm making wishes. Yes, I am. Every morning, every evening, I'm making wishes. Every time I come out to the woods here, I'm making wishes. Yes, I am. I can see how my psoas is still a little bit off with my footprints. However, it is improving dramatically from the yogic postures I've been practicing. Very happy to say. Pretty soon I'll be right back in perfect alignment, which I haven't been since my 20s, and I'm now 46. I feel younger and more fit and capable than I did in my 20s. And that's great. It's a testament to the body and the mind. You see, what happens is the moment that you come into being as a thought in the mind of God without any distortion, and you embrace the imagination like a child in innocence and purity, and you wish well for others and love your neighbor and seek not to destroy, rather to create. And when you think about people having abundance rather than wanting to take from them because of jealousy or envy. And when you start to realize that you no longer need to put yourself up on a false pedestal for vanity's sake, to see yourself as superior to others, you come into your power. And most of the religious affiliations, other than those who were persecuted and nearly eradicated, are doing all that they can to prevent you from coming into that power. Because the moment you do, we become equals. So what does this say about those who are in positions of quote-unquote religious power or indoctrinated power, educational power? What does it say about those people? Social media influencers are included in this. What does it say? It says they either are unconscious of their own humanity as divine creators, an image made in the mind of God, or they simply are not human. Either way, that's not your ally. That's not your friend. But what it is part of God's manifold expression as illusion, because you decided it. So take responsibility for it. All of those who see themselves as superior over you, who see themselves as wanting to shut you down and shut you up, because all you seek is to empower others without any recognition in the matter. Just surrender it. Surrender all of it. And you know what will happen? Those affiliations will say, phew, okay. We narrowly escaped that one. It almost was too much for people. They almost got freed. They were almost liberated. When in fact, where you went in your surrender was fully within. And no one could take away the image of you imagining everyone having what they need. Everyone having it instantaneously. Everyone being fed, everyone being clothed, sheltered, cared for and loved. Everyone conceiving and harvesting instantaneously. You went there in secret. And no one can take that from you. No one. They can threaten you with purgatory. They can threaten you with chastising you. They can hurt you physically. They can dominate your physical body. They can incarcerate you. They can starve you, belittle you. They can take away your resources, take away your home, take away your income, take away your children. They can take away everything that you've ever found valuable in this world. But what they can't take from you is your imagination to wish it back. Not only wish it back, but to get it back. For if you concentrate on this power, there's nothing that the external world can do to you to stop you from its realization. And that is the greatest threat that humanity poses to the unconscious individuals of this world. For they have not any affiliation with this power. They've already dismissed it. You'll hear it in people's voices. You'll hear it in the way they use their words when they say, I am sick and tired, defeated, lost, or I am in a position of power that you cannot stop. In the same light, you'll hear people say that I dominate the species because they don't know how lesser they are. You'll hear this. And if you don't hear that, you'll see it in people's actions all the time, playing some role of superiority in a moral or religious or political way even, especially nowadays. So you can tell those who are conscious and awakened or awakening as compared to those who are totally asleep at the wheel, have no idea what's going on at all, and are frightened of this world, thinking it's one life to live, and unless you adhere to these rules, that life becomes real hard, real fast. Do not give your power to such things, for you're giving yourself away to something that is an illusion. To say that you are powerless is to be disillusioned, delusional. What do you say to all those beautiful atoms in your body? All the stem cells. When you say that, the body's just like, well, I can't comply with that. But with enough repetition, maybe I can grow into an abscess, perhaps cancer. And that's probably the best I can do for this delusional person who sees themselves as an invalid who can't recover, for the person who sees themselves as poor, hungry, shelterless, unloved, unappreciated, hated, met with indifference on the regular, or otherwise victimized. That person is lost in a delusion without the imagination. It's now serving them, but you know, the unconscious individual is using the imagination all the time. However, very ineffectively. It's like you're You're just coming over to a piano and pressing whatever random keys, just smushing them down with some hope, which is a terrible word. Hope is a horrible word, a very misleading word, but you're smashing down those keys thinking it's going to be harmonious. And of course, when you find that it's not, you curse the instrument itself, close it and say, I'll never play this thing. It doesn't work. It's not in tune. Others can do it, but it's because of X, Y, and Z. And you just keep separating yourself from the harmony that could exist if you were just to be present and pay attention to what you're doing, which is cursing yourself and others in an erroneous way. Using the imagination to say that you are incapable of playing music when music is a fourth dimensional gift. You don't need language for it. You just start playing it. And everyone across the world responds in turn. It's pure magic. And this is where I'm going to summarize and finalize our discussion today. There are faculties that you possess that are greater than time and space. The greatest of all is the imagination. For you can go into the imagination at any time and you can make any scenario real without restriction or limitation. Thank God we're outside. On this billionaire's walk. Also, there is nothing made that isn't first made in the mind of God through the imagination. If it is undesirable, it is because you have interfered with labels and missteps, and that's fine. That's why you're here. You're here to make mistakes. You're here to have mishaps. That's fine. But just be aware that at the time you made these mistakes, you were unaware of your power. And that's why Jesus, upon his crucifixion and the first station, said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." They're unconscious. They're not here. They're taken by the matrix, blue-pilled, whatever you want to call it. Label it, but don't make that the point of the story. Make the point of the story the fact that they knew not what they were doing, and nor did you. So forgive yourself for all of the mistakes by surrendering everything involved in it. So if you must use time to revisit your mistakes, let them go. Use the imagination to do it. And if the world says you're ridiculous in letting go of this, let's say you're condemned to death, whatever it may be, just let that expression carry out what it needs to carry out. You will be the only one leaving that room alive. Everyone will see you as dead, and thus they will be dead themselves. It's the hardest thing to explain to people. Do not wish horrible things for your neighbor or yourself, for you will be inviting such things into your life, and you will see those people as dead. Sure enough, just as I have. But they continue on. In some alternative world, they continue on. And you are here to realize that. There is no real death in the mind of God. There's only continuation of expression. What we have right now, folks, is such an opportunity to grow spiritually and to release ourselves of all of the burdens, these pain remembrances that have embedded themselves in our body. We have such a prime opportunity to do this through music. Whereas it used to be something where you had to dedicate a lot of time and effort in order to accomplish the creation of a song, to compose, that power is now placed in the hands of everyone through Suno AI, S-U-N-O AI. And you know what's beautiful about this is that there's a community of creators where Regardless of how many followers, likes, and plays you have for boasting, a person can sign up immediately and compose a most beautiful, timeless song that's never been created before, that is in adherence to their wishes without delay. And that, to me, sounds a lot like the Golden Age. I've been falling asleep listening to these songs that I've created through AI and Suno, and I have to tell you, every night it's been a lucid dream. Because it's opening up a world of faculties that we have kept dormant for who knows how long. You place the power of composition into the hands of every human being on the planet, regardless of their ability prior to in composing, and you have a dynamic shift in human consciousness that is unparalleled, as far as I'm concerned, in its impact. This community is vibrant, full of love. There's not a single comment section allowed. People have to set up Discord channels in order to have comments about songs. And I think it's the most beautiful concept for a social media network ever. Why? Because thumbs down doesn't matter. Comments, they don't matter because they're not even a part of it. They're not even allowed. You couldn't leave one if you wanted to. So the only way that you can communicate through the app with others is to recognize their song by either seeing that it's been created and liking it, or listening to it and liking it, also seeing that it's been created. But either way, it works for the creator because they see that you have taken the time enough to give you love. We are all equal composers now in the mind of God. This is a huge revelation. I don't think people understand how powerful and impacting this is until they do. You have people who prefer to go back to this app for the composition of music or the listening of other compositions because they know that it carries with it a higher faculty of being. And this higher faculty of being is directly connected to the imagination. And so what's really wild is we have it with music now. And we're getting there with film. Sora has 1 minute generated videos from text now. That's unbelievable. Soon to include sound. This is already being programmed and done through Llama, through Facebook. In addition to music and video, we have programming. People are setting up AI agents to program and do whatever they desire. So if there's anything that you've already made and you want to promote it, like in the movie Her, it's done beautifully. The main character played by Joaquin Phoenix, I've spoken about this. He's told by this operating system that is AI that she is happy to go through all of his email, compile it, and make the perfect collection that can be made into a book and sold. So all the curation is done by the AI agent. And that is curative because it takes what you once believed in, you thought that it could be something of value to the world, but you just didn't have the promotional skill, or there was something lacking in your mind. And those limitations have been lifted and are gone. And they're on their way out for everyone who embraces the AI agent, which is the same as embracing the subconscious. It's just waiting for a prompt. What is your desire? Make the desire clear and concise, and the results will be clear and concise. Make them random and haphazard, and the results will be random and haphazard. They won't be enjoyable all the time. That's your life the way it is now. Once you become better at prompting, you'll start to understand that this world becomes what you think about, period. That's the beauty. So this is happening with music, film, programming, very soon to be video games. I mean it. Single individuals producing a video game that is far superior than anything that has been made thus far by teams of individuals spending billions of dollars, including those making GTA 6. I can guarantee you, within 2 to 3 years, there will be a better rendition made by a single person And everyone will be doing it, just like they're making levels on Roblox, or easier. Carolina Wren for the confirmation. Listen to that trill. This is your future, whether you see it or not. The video game industry dissolved. The film industry dissolved. The music industry dissolved. And would it be coincidence right now that all the evil that has ever existed in these organizations is now coming forth, leaching out? It's because it's in preparation for its downfall. And we've seen this happen with countries and nations, and now we're seeing it happen with technology, because it's being placed in the hands of the individual to be able to do it just as well in a fraction of the time to little or no cost. That is a killer app. AI is the killer app of the future. And it's here now. So while you're composing, making films, writing programs, making video games, what do you think comes next? Instantaneous manifestation of goods and services. And it's on its way through robotics and AI. So whatever it is you desire, the cost of its production plummets because there's no longer scarcity, because the mining is being done 24/7 by robots without any risk being placed to humans. And humans are going to say, well, what about my job? Please, your job is to create. Your job is to prompt and create. Whether you see it now or not, and you will resist it, the more that you believe you are the creator of all the things that have come into your life that are of good. All the good that's come into your life. You already believe that you're the creator of all those things. So when it comes to an AI prompt, you probably see it as a cop-out. You probably see it as cheating, like a cheat code. So be it. You'll be the last ones to figure this out. Everyone else will be ahead of you by leaps and bounds. Those who you mocked, those who you made fun of, those who you belittled and said they have nothing, yet they just kept going. They kept exploring and trailblazing. You'll be behind them all. And that will be just. So if you're part of these dying industries that I've mentioned, these industries of creation, I say just don't even get on the Titanic itself. Because to do that would be woke. Do you hear me? To get on the Titanic right now would be to announce that you are woke. On the unsinkable ship, right? Yeah. Not the best decision. The future is decided in a prompt. The prompt is first in your mind, what do you want this to become? Then the prompt is given to you in the form of AI asking you, what is the product that you would like delivered to your home? When would you like it delivered? How would you like it delivered? And right now that's being done with digital technology. Music, okay, tell us the genre, tell us the beats per minute, tell us what you want, tell us the lyrics. How would you like it to be delivered? And it's delivered immediately. Same thing with film. What's the type of film you want? How does it look? What's going on? How would you like it scored? How would you like the Foley effects to be? You prompt it and it delivers nearly instantaneously, and all of this will become instantaneous pretty soon. Don't you see where we are headed, folks? It is the full circle. We are returning to the golden age. And we've already accomplished the golden age with music, movies, sound, programming, and soon to be video games, anything digital and technological based. And goods and services will be one of the last. That's all happening fast. So can't you see that we are actually now coming into the beginning of the golden age, where everyone becomes equal again? Because there isn't a video game industry that can outdo you. A single person can outdo the video game industry. A single person can outdo the music industry. A single person can outdo the movie industry now. And this frightens a lot of people that are in those industries. Like I said, embrace the change. Hop up on the wave. Try it out. It's all love. But you just don't see it. But it's all love. That's all it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, like clockwork, here we are at the end of our journey today. Remember that every thought that you make in the imagination is a thought in the mind of God. When you do it consciously, you're making a conscious wish. When you do it unconsciously, you're just spinning the die. Both are your choice. So keep wishing, and wish well. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. For we are leading the charge in the ushering of the golden age to come. Amen. And if you want to know how to make wishes, just look at my comments on I Am. You'll learn a lot. And start watching Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. It's a 39-minute audiobook that you'll find through the Master Key Society on YouTube for free. So there's no excuse not to fortify yourself with the right tools to manifest what you desire to prompt into existence. Start with music. That accelerates the process for the physical world to show you the changes. I promise you. What's happening right now under the radar is beyond anything that has ever occurred before since the last golden age. So embrace it. God bless you. And know that I love you all. Do not hate me for the things that I've given you today, for they're not for your affiliation with me or devotion, but for you to love yourself more. Please see this, no matter how stubborn you may be. God bless you.